and bureaucracy, but we fund that at 100%. And then once we fund it, what we're supposed to do as a state, every single other expenditure gets vetoed, period. It just gets vetoed. And then we don't even need to come close to 99% of what we're not going to look at and say, oh, we've got $8 billion, so we get to spend 99% of that. We're going to say milk, eggs, butter, bread, meat, we're going to pay for that, and then we're going to put the Pop-Tarts and the soda pop and the cool t-shirt hanging in aisle 3 back on the shelf. And tell the kids, if you want that, then you can go get a job and buy it yourself. We're not going to pay for this stuff no more. Not under Narcissus administration. Period. And so now we have the ability to keep the courthouse open as often as it's supposed to be. Yes, sir.
Can one man change this?
A governor is not just a man, a governor is an institution. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to say something. It's interesting. I was talking to Ken Sager, who's the head of the Iowa Federation of Labor. And I was on the Des Moines School Board. And I said to Ken, the reason I got results as a school board member is because I pulled some arms out of sockets and I shattered some kneecaps. And he didn't blink. We just kept talking It's like that scene in Goodfellas after they kill him and Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro are eating at the table just like they haven't done anything. And sometimes when I talk to liberty lovers and conservatives, and I say the way we get results is shatter kneecaps and pulls arms out of sockets, and every once in a while asks open casket or cremation, I feel like I've got a taser in the room because folks go, oh my goodness, this is terrible. No, you can get results, but you've got to play hardball politics. When we have the level of corruption that exists in our government, you cannot get results simply by asking them to be nice. I literally had a member of the Republican National Committee at Smoky Row in Des Moines say to me, John, if we could get them to like us, they won't shoot at us as much.
Who was that?
A member of the Republican
What's his name?
Well, it was her name.
Her name, okay.
It's only 2. You figure out which one. The pretty one. So the fact of the matter is that there's this naivety that exists. In order for us to get results, we're going to have to play hardball. So when I'm governor and I veto every single non-essential expenditure, when we have a legislator that wants to override that veto, I'm going to need your organization to say, we need 10 people, 15, 20 people to be prepared to deploy in that community so that we can give that person grief. To let them know, if you override this veto, we will run an opponent against you, we will raise money, and we will take you out. As a member of the Des Moines School Board on September 10, 2007, I sat down with a gentleman by the name of J. Michael McCoy, a local radio show host, and he made a list of what I said I'd get done. On July 3rd, 2009, less than 2 years later, everything on that list got checked off. Now, I did radio, I did television. I remember one time our superintendent said, you can't keep going on TV. I said, well, do the right thing. And they started voting the right stuff, so I didn't need to be on TV anymore. I had my own TV show. I'd draw on the whiteboard, and I'd bring parents in and bring teachers in. I remember I brought this teacher in, and he talked about a gun scare, and nobody told him, and brought this mother in who finally pulled her kid out of the school after the class was threatened with being shanked. He was a second grader, by the way. And I mean, this stuff has impact. I sent out mass emails. I recruited a slate of candidates to run against the incumbents, and had they won, they would have taken over the school board. And we were looking at 4 seats, and I think they said, you know what? If we lose this time, we're not just going to be fired, we're going to be prosecuted. And then all of a sudden, they just started voting all that stuff. In politics, you have to kill some folks. Now, not metaphorically speaking, which means you vote them out of office. If candidates don't do what they're supposed to, you take them out. I don't don't care if the next person is a baby dragon. If you got a dragon, you kill the dragon and deal with the baby dragon 3 years from now. You have got to punish people who don't do the right things in politics. If I get elected governor and I lie to you people, you ought to make my life a living hell.
And we will.
Now at the same time, if I get elected governor, and we were at Famous Dave's,
yeah.
And John Riley said, well, politicians lie. I said, John, now forget the fact that it just isn't in my nature, because if I was going to lie to you, I'd lie to you to get elected. Okay? You know. That's the time you're supposed to lie. You know, you lie to get elected, and then you just keep on lying if you're going to do it. But you don't tell the truth before you get elected and then start lying. So I said, you know, what happens if I go there and keep my word? I said, I'd take a bullet for you. Forget the fact that it's not my name. I know that if I go there and I keep my word, that I'm going to have 1 million to 1.5 million Iowans ready to take a bullet for me. So you know, it's good politics, to be honest. I have people who hate my guts in Des Moines, and Todd and them, they went to the Iowa tailgate. They met some of those folks.
Oh yeah.
But I tell you what, there's not one of them, if they were in a fight, that wouldn't want me on their side.
I can tell you this: when I walked around the Hawkeye game, trying to get signatures to get him in the debate, I went down to where all the RVs are down in Iowa City, outside of Kinnick, and the people that knew Jonathan, because a lot of them knew him, they either loved him, I'll sign it, heck, he's awesome, we got to get him in there, he'll stir it up, or they couldn't stand him, and most of them that couldn't stand him worked for the school board. And I thought to myself, you know what? He's doing something right. He's you know, they either love him or they hate him. He must be doing something right.
I had a farmer from Mahaska County, and who gave me a check at the Pizza Ranch, and then later on he asked me about ethanol, and I put the check on the table. I said, you might want to take this back before I'm done. And you know, and in fact, I spoke at a meeting just last week, and I told them, because you know, they seemed to think that I was intimidated by the group, and I said, you know what, I told the Iowa State Education Association I would break their back over my knees if I got elected. Now, Branstad and Culver have both been endorsed by them at some point in their political careers. They called me the greatest threat to public education in Iowa's history. Now, if I'm not afraid to lie to the ISEA, I'm not going to lie to some other folks. If I say, you know what, I don't care that I live in Iowa, we ought not be subsidizing ethanol. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know if there's anybody in here who's sucking off that particular federal nipple, but if you think that ag subsidies are great and the Fed should be taxing us to send you a check, or sending a check to those folks who live in Florida, Texas, and Arizona who own Iowa property and get those checks, I'm not your guy. If you want bigger taxes and bigger government, you got two great choices. I personally pick Branstad because he can more competently raise your taxes and grow your government, and even get things done like new casinos. Culver couldn't even get a new casino. He took that money from the Fort Dodge people, got an investigation out of it. So Branstad is a much more competent, big government, big tax guy. But we're gonna tell power the truth. I don't care whether it's Farm Bureau or the ISEA, we're gonna speak truth to power. And if we get elected, we're gonna do the right thing. And the right thing is to cut waste in government. Todd can tell you, I can show you exactly where we cut. Like in education, 45,000 employees in regions with 70,000 students. We don't have that ratio with 3 and 4 year olds. So we cut some positions, but we cut them responsibly. Do we really need 400 payroll clerks in school districts in Iowa? We used to have 4,652 school districts, but we didn't have 4,652 superintendents. We shrank the number of school districts and increased the number of bureaucrats. So we fired some people. Walmart has a 15-person board of directors and a headquarter in Bentonville, and the size of that entity dwarfs the Iowa education system. But we have payroll clerks in every small district, and we're merging small districts, which is a shame. It's a travesty that we're getting rid of these small districts because they're actually teaching kids how to read, write, and compute. But the reason we're getting rid of them isn't because kids don't learn how to read, it's because we can't afford the 3 principals and the superintendents in the school district with 200 kids. So we fire some of those people too, and we actually spend the money on the kids. So we take power and we let it know that this state belongs to Iowans. All those sacred cows and sacred pigs that have been feeding from the trough we've been filling, well, what we're going to do is take some spits and dig some pits and light some fires, and we're going to put them on a pole and we're going to cook them, because those sacred cows will be feeding no more off of our hard-earned labor. And do we have a card? I want to just read this.